This excerpt is from the book entitled Elohim the Archetype, Original Pattern of the Universe, written by Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley, the scientific disputation of the biblical account of the creation, narrated by Yahshuans Giving Glory. I will begin. The world's greatest intellectually minded and academically trained theologians openly confess that they cannot reconcile the Bible account of the creation in Genesis, chapter 1 to chapter 2, verse 4, with the many scientific accounts of the creation of heaven and earth. Although there are many points of which they disagree, we will limit this discussion to the following. 1. The biblical scholars cannot satisfactorily explain how that there was light before the sun, moon, and stars were created and placed in the heavens on the fourth day. 2. The religious scholars cannot explain how that the vegetation came forth from the ground and grew into fruition on the third day before the sun was placed in the heavens on the fourth day of creation. 3. The biblical account that vegetation was complete in all of its forms on the third day of the creation before any animal life appeared on the fifth and sixth day of creation is not understood nor can be explained. These points of contention are mentioned in Funk and Wagnall New Standard Bible Dictionary, 3rd Revised Edition, under the caption Cosmogony, page 152. Here, 59 contributors of the world's best-known biblical scholars plainly admit that they cannot reconcile the biblical account of creation with accepted scientific belief and concepts because of the following reasons. A. Science recognizes the sun as the source of light, and it is necessary for the growth and propagation of all plant life. B. Science teaches that plant and animal life exists in a symbolic relationship, where one cannot thrive without the other. The utter failure on the part of these astute and worldly trained biblicists to dissolve their differences with the scientists is due mainly to the fact that they try to explain the creation without recognizing and acknowledging the Creator, who is the true Son of Yahweh Elohim. How can there be a creation without a Creator? We have fully explained elsewhere in this book, see the chart of Moses' vision, page 18, that Moses received a vision of the creation while he was in the cloud that covered the top of Mount Sinai for 6 days in the year 1490 BY, before Yahshua the Messiah. After he had brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, Exodus 24 and 16, Moses was accompanied in Mount Sinai by Joshua the son of Nun, who in fact was Yahshua, Numbers 13 and 8 to 16, who transfigured before Moses, see Matthew 17 and 1 to 9. Thus it was this anthropomorphic form of Joshua, or Elohim, who demonstrated to Moses in his vision that he was the true creator of the heavens and the earth, and all that in them is. This vision of Moses took place in the realm of eternity, and not in the realm of time, as typified by his entering into the midst of the cloud, denoting pure spirit, or the eternity of Yahweh. It was this same Joshua who was with Moses and Aaron and the children of Israel down in Egypt, and he was the phenomenal light that lit up the land of Goshen, where the Israelites had light in their dwellings, whereas throughout the rest of the land of Egypt there was the plague of Stygian black darkness. Furthermore, this same Joshua was that phenomenal cloud that furnished light unto the Israelites during their 3-day march to and through the Red Sea, and at the same time was absolute pitch-black darkness to the pursuing host of Pharaoh. This phenomenal cloud went from before Israel and stood between Israel and Pharaoh and his host. Thus one can see the division between light and darkness during the 3 days of the migration out of Egypt and to and through the Red Sea. This same situation must be repeated so that there is definite and positive proof of its occurrence. So then Moses in his vision atop Mount Sinai of the migration of the physical creation out of pure spirit, we must see the existence of cosmic light and the dividing of the light and darkness during the first 3 days of the creation. But let us please keep in mind that the origin of this light is Joshua, or Yahshua, and please let us be reminded that this is not cosmic light, but the light of the Son of Yahweh. When Yahshua the Messiah, who was the Son of Yahweh, spoke to the Jews during the 3.5 years of his ministry, he told them that he was the light of the world. John 9:5. In further confirmation of this fact, John in his vision on the Isle of Patmos, who wrote of Yahshua the Messiah in the book of Revelation, in the city Jerusalem above, had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Yahweh, Elohim, did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. Revelation 21:23. These academically trained theologians failed to differentiate between the Son of Yahweh and the sun in the sky, which is only a reflection or a type or shadow of the real sun, Elohim. Yet there is a definite relationship between the two, as is clearly shown by Yahweh Elohim's waiting until the cool of the evening, as the sun in the sky was going down to cast Adam, the son of Yahweh, Luke 3:38, out of the Garden of Eden into outer darkness after his sin. Here we can see that the two, the sun in the sky and the Son of Yahweh, are going down together. Likewise, as Yahshua the Messiah was dying on the cross and all of the life or light was draining out of his physical body, the sun in the sky began to darken and to go down into Stygian black darkness from the 6th to the 9th hour. Here again, the sun in the sky is coordinated with the Son of Yahweh, as the two go on down together. Then 3 days later, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, that is, as the sun in the sky was coming up, the Son of Yahweh, Yahshua, rose from the grave, thus accomplishing the rising of the two, sun and sun, together. Malachi confirms that these two sons, S-O-N and S-U-N, are one and the same, for he wrote, "But unto you that revere my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings." Malachi 4:2. Here the prophet Malachi is plainly referring to Yahshua the Messiah, the Son of Yahweh, but he refers to him as the Son. Thus it is plain to those who have the eyes to see that Elohim, the Son of Yahweh, was the beginning of the creation of Yahweh, Revelation 3:14, and creator of heaven and earth, John 1:1-2, Colossians 1:13-17. And he was before all things, including the sun which was placed in the heaven on the 4th day to be a witness of Yahshua the Messiah, the fleshly Son of Yahweh, who was placed in the earth plane in the 4,000th year after the Adamic man was driven out of the Garden of Eden. Remember that 1 day with Yahweh is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as 1 day. Psalms 90:4, 2 Peter 3:8. This Elohim, or Joshua, who spoke to Moses at the burning bush, told him that he should tell Pharaoh and the Israelites in Egypt that he was Ayah Asher Ayah, which means I will be what I will to be. Thus he willed to be the sun, moon, and stars, and in fact, the universe in its totality is one or other manifestation of him, Yahweh Elohim. It is therefore no trouble for one to see how there was light before the sun was placed in the heavens on the 4th day. For we see the Son of Yahweh Elohim, who is the light of the world. Furthermore, the matter of the seed of vegetation springing up out of the soil on the 3rd day, before the sun was placed in the heavens on the 4th day, is no problem when one sees that the seed of Abraham, the children of Israel, came up out of Egypt and were baptized in the cloud and the sea the 3rd day. But let us remember that Joshua, Moses' minister, was right along with them, and he was the one who delivered them out of Egypt. See Joshua 24th chapter. Therefore, that which caused the seed of vegetation to grow up without the aid of the ethereal sun in the heavens is the same sun which caused the seed of Abraham to rise up out of Egypt and go on through the wilderness into Canaan land. Likewise, that which raised the Messiah from the dead on the 3rd day was not the physical sun in the sky, but Elohim, the incorporeal or anthropomorphic form or Son of Yahweh. See Acts 3:3-15. Truly, the vegetable kingdom coming forth on the 3rd day typifies the angelic creation, whereas the animal kingdom coming forth later typifies the earthly or physical creation. And as angels are ministering spirits which are incarnated in all mankind and are inseparable from mankind, so must the vegetable and animal kingdom be inseparably related. The plants exist on the carbon dioxide excreted by animals, and the animals exist on the oxygen liberated from the plants. But both vegetable and animal life are dependent upon the sun, or sun, which is the source of all life. The Apostle Paul wrote that Yahshua the Messiah, who raised from the dead on the third day, was the first fruits of them that slept. 1 Corinthians 15:20. And after his resurrection, many of the saints, or sons of Yahweh, who slept in the dust of the earth, arose and went on into Jerusalem. Matthew 27:52-53. As we have already said heretofore, when one begins to read the book of Genesis, he must realize that he is reading an account of the vision that Moses had in the year 1490 BY in the cloud atop Mount Sinai. Yahweh Elohim is showing Moses in a vision how he had already created the heavens and the earth, for Moses was standing on physical Mount Sinai. And furthermore, Moses himself is not conscious of any time whatsoever, as he is viewing the rerun of the creation of heaven and earth in the realm of eternity. Moses' account of the creation with the divine pattern of the tabernacle, which he also received, confirms that Yahweh Elohim is the archetypal or original pattern of the universe, and conclusively proves him to be Aya Asher Aya, or I will be what I will to be. The whole universal creation witnesses to this, and this is the purpose for which it was created. Thus we have shown when, where, how, and why Moses received the vision of the creation. And this is scientifically and scripturally proven by the universe in all of its manifestations and the Holy Scriptures. It should be an eye-opener to all of the world, seeing that all of these deep esoteric secrets of Yahweh, who is a great mystery, 1 Timothy 3:16, are being explained and revealed to all that will accept the truth. This positively points to the fact that this age is almost ready to come to a close. As the Apostle John wrote, "But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Yahweh should be finished, and he hath declared to his servants the prophets." Revelation 10:7. Summary. In the initial production of matter, it must first appear in the beginning of Moses' vision as a parent mass of conglomeration or amalgamation of inorganic substance, without particular descriptive shape or form or chaotic condition. Genesis 1:2. As evidenced by the dark, chaotic, plague-stricken land of Egypt in the beginning of the migration. Exodus 11:1-6. Matter in the second state must take on descriptive shape in organic form to prove the invisible is understood by the visible. Romans 1:19-20. As evidenced by the building of the physical tabernacle in the wilderness. Exodus chapter 25-30. In harmony with the creation of the greater and more perfect tabernacle, the universe. Genesis chapter 1. Matter then must be animated as evidenced by the physical tabernacle being filled with the Spirit, breath of life, as shown by the cloud covering the tabernacle outside and inside. Exodus 40:34-36. And further by Yahweh Elohim breathing into the nostrils of both beast and man the breath of life. Genesis 2:7-19. Also Genesis 7:21-22. And confirmed after the resurrection of Yahshua the Messiah, when he breathed on his disciples and said to them, "Receive ye the Holy Spirit," John 20:22, which they did receive on the day of Pentecost, as evidenced by the mighty rushing wind, which filled them in the whole house whereby they were. Acts 2:4. Thus this esoteric and exotic secret was revealed to Solomon and expressed in these words: Yahweh possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, Then I was by him as one brought up with him. Proverbs 8:22-30. The above statement of Solomon agrees with the revelation of John, which reads as follows: And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, These things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of Elohim. Revelations 3:14, and also see John 1:1-14. Whereas Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 elders, after ascending Mount Sinai, saw in a vision Yahshua the Messiah, this super incorporeal form, whom they recognized as the Elohim of Israel. And they saw the Elohim of Israel, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. Exodus 24:10. Before Moses entered into the midst of the cloud, which typified his entrance into the presence of Elohim in the realm of eternity, wherein Moses heard the spoken word of Elohim before time began, which spontaneously transformed spirit or substance, in part into a large supermass of organic and inanimate matter. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. Psalms 33:9. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Hebrews 11:3. With the heavens, space, and earth in this condition, Moses saw, recognized, and said in the beginning of his vision, Elohim created the heaven and earth. Genesis 1:1. If we, as scientists engaged in an extensive and intensified research, thoroughly understood by divine interpretation that Yahweh is spirit, John 4:24, inhabiting eternity, Isaiah 57:15, and that Yahweh Elohim created matter, and that matter is spirit materialized, which materialization took place spontaneously in the realm of eternity before time began, and still continues to abide within the eternal realm, then we could very easily understand that there is no solution to the age-old problem and question of how old the heaven and earth is. Actually, we must understand that we cannot time or calculate the age of creation by the physical objects of the creation, such as the operation of the sun, moon, and stars, when it is the repeated routine function of these previously created objects that make up what we call time. Or in other words, we cannot take the created objects which are necessary to establish time to time their own creation. Therefore, scientists will never be geological, archaeological, and other methods of scientific research, including outer space exploration, be able to determine the age of the creation, without first determining the age of the eternal Creator, Yahweh, because, as we have already explained, matter is spirit materialized. For example, a watch is made to tell time, in seconds, minutes, and hours, but it was not made to tell how a watch itself is, or the age of the watchmaker. A more detailed account of Moses' vision of the creation is more fully explained herein. Moses went into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, and the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai. And the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he, Elohim, called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Yahweh was like a devouring fire on the top of the mount, in the eyes of the children of Israel. No night in the holy place, in the earthly sanctuary, compare with Revelations 21:1-23. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud, and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Exodus 24:15-18. Note: in the following copy of the above paragraph, we are inserting in the proper place Moses' vision of the creation of the heaven and earth, which took place in the first 6 solar days of the 7, while Moses was in the midst of the cloud, symbolizing his presence in eternity during the 40 days he was in Mount Sinai. Moses went into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount, and the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. In the beginning of Moses' vision, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. Genesis 1:1. Also, the numbers preceding the following statements are referring to the verses of Scripture in the first chapter of Genesis. 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. 3. And Elohim said, Let there be light, and there was light. 4. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim divided the light from the darkness. 5. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. 6. And Elohim said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. 7. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. 8. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Elohim said, 9. And Elohim said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. 10. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters called he seas. And Elohim saw it. 11. And Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. 12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb, yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day. 14. And Elohim said, Let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. 15. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. 16. And Elohim made to appear two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. 17. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. 18. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. 19. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. 20. And Elohim said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. 21. And Elohim created great sea monsters, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind, and every winged fowl that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. 22. And Elohim blessed them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. 23. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. 24. And Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind. 25. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. 26. And Elohim said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. 27. So he created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he him. 28. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. 29. And Elohim said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. 30. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. 1. And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Genesis 2:1. 2. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. 3. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. 4. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day, or eternity, that Yahweh Elohim made the earth and the heavens. And the seventh day he, Elohim, called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of Yahweh was like a devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. Went into the midst of the cloud, and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Exodus 24:15-18. To summarize the C section under the caption of the explanation, we are referring to the vision and history of the creation of heaven and earth and Elohim's rest or Sabbath day. Yahweh inhabits eternity, Isaiah 57:15, as indicated by a superincorporeal form within the cloud that covered Mount Sinai. Hence, the actual creation of heaven and earth must emanate from Yahweh and take place in the realm of eternity. Therefore, these created physical objects such as the sun, moon, stars, and other planets function within the realm of eternity and cause the realm of time to exist. Moses, having first seen Elohim in the vision before he began to create, therefore, saw the entire process of the creation. When he began to write, starting with the beginning of the vision, he wrote, "In the beginning Elohim created the heaven and the earth." Genesis 1:1. This panoramic vision of Elohim and the process of creation which Moses saw while he was within the cloud symbolizes his presence within the day or within eternity during the first 6 solar days of the 40-day period that he was in Mount Sinai. This was in the 3rd sacred month, Sivan, comparable to our June, in year of 2513 AM, or 1490 BY, and was recorded as is in the first part of the book of Genesis. As Moses was a witness, through the vision of the creation, we can understand how he could write the history of the creation of the heaven and earth and compile the book of Genesis. Regarding the Sabbath day as a day of rest for mankind to keep, it is easy to see and clearly understandable that, since Moses wrote the book of Genesis in the wilderness of Sinai in 1490 BY and placed the vision which he saw on the mount in the first part of the book of Genesis, as is, neither Adam nor any other of the antediluvian or postdiluvian patriarchs prior to Moses could have known anything about the Sabbath day. In the 2nd month, Exodus 16:1, after their arrival and residence in the wilderness of Sinai, the Israelites began to murmur for food, and for 6 days Elohim gave them manna from heaven. Exodus 16:23-28. They were to gather enough on the 6th day to supply them during the 7th day or the Sabbath. It was here in the wilderness of Sinai at this time, 1490 BY, that for the first time in the history of the world, Elohim first mentioned to mankind anything about the rest, or the 7th day, or keeping of a Sabbath day. Elohim, in speaking the commandments from Mount Sinai in the 3rd month, Exodus 19:1, thereafter reminded the Israelites to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. After speaking the commandments from Mount Sinai, Elohim called Moses up into the mount which the cloud covered 6 solar days, and Moses saw Elohim in the process of creating the heaven and earth. Genesis 1:1-31 and Genesis 2:1-4. It was here in Mount Sinai that Yahweh, who, as already explained, is spirit, took on the superincorporeal form of a man. Exodus 24:10, Ezekiel 1:26, and appeared to Moses in a vision. Thereafter, the transmutable part of spirit, or the threefold Godhead, was spontaneously transformed into the apparent ethereal darkness and chaotic physical substance, which Moses saw and recognized to be the heaven and earth. Genesis 1:1. Paradoxical as it may seem, John in his vision on the Isle of Patmos stated that the Lamb of Yahweh was slain from the foundation of the world. Revelation 13:8 and Revelation 17:18. which means that the Paschal lamb in the dark, chaotic land of Egypt had to be slain therein from the beginning of the migration or departure of the Israelites from Egypt. Thus the heaven and earth, which Moses saw in the vision within the midst of the cloud, was in the same dark, chaotic condition as the land of Egypt, after the pouring out of the 10 plagues, and the offering and blood of the Paschal lamb, before the beginning of the Israelites' departure therefrom. Exodus 12:1-15. In this comparative type, we are using the Red Sea for a boundary line between Egypt and the wilderness of Sinai. In other words, we are using the mystic darkness and waters of the Red Sea to completely surround the plague-stricken chaotic land of Egypt, as described in the beginning of Moses' vision of the creation in Genesis 1:1-31. See and compare Genesis 1:2 with Exodus 10:21-23. From within this ethereal darkness and chaotic mass, Moses heard Elohim speak the words, "Let there be light," and there was light. Genesis 1:3. After the dawn of cosmic light, and from within this great chaotic mass, Moses saw Elohim, the heavenly anthropomorphic being or threefold archetype pattern, systematically create the heaven and earth with its vegetable and animal kingdoms as Moses knew them before, and as we now know them. In this vision, Elohim, in speaking and dealing with this parent mass during these 6 solar days, thoroughly demonstrated that he is universal spirit law and order within himself. Whereas on the 7th day he rested and sanctified that day, because in it he rested from his work of creation. Genesis 2:1-3. Before Moses descended the mount after he had witnessed the creation of heaven and earth during the first 6 solar days, and Elohim had rested the 7th day, Elohim called unto Moses out of the cloud and gave him the first tables of stone, already written with the finger of Elohim, before Moses went up into the mount, with the law of commandments engraved therein. Elohim had instructed Moses to place the tables of stone with the commandments written therein inside the ark of the covenant, in the most holy place in the tabernacle. Moses, in descending the mount, came within view of the children of Israel, disobeying the commandments of Elohim by worshiping the golden calf. In seeing the children of Israel worshiping the golden calf, Moses waxed hot and threw down the first tables of stone and broke them. Note, Moses did not see the Adamic transgression until his 3rd trip up into the mount. After Elohim and Moses had chastised the children of Israel for making and worshiping the golden calf, Elohim called unto Moses and told him to hew himself out 2 tables of stone and come back up into the mount again, and he would write the same words on the 2nd table of stone. Exodus 34:1-2, which he was to place in the ark of the covenant, signifying the new covenant. Jeremiah 31:31-34. If we subtract the 7 days, which includes the Sabbath, from the 40 days and nights which Moses remained in the mount, we will have 33 more days that Moses remained in the mount after he saw the vision of creation, which, Numbers 14:34, Ezekiel 4:6, is equivalent to the word of Yahweh, manifested in the flesh, or the total 33.5 years, lifespan of Yahshua the Messiah, on the earth plane, fulfilling the law and the prophecies. Isaiah 8:20, Matthew 5:17, Luke 24:44. There is quite a lot of modern scientifical and theological and cosmological speculation introduced under the caption of the theory of the original or pre-Adamic earth. This has been the scientific disputation of the biblical account of the creation and summary from Elohim the Archetype, Original Pattern of the Universe, written by Dr. Clifford Kinley and narrated by Yahshuans Giving Glory.